Hello, hello, and welcome to The Cheap Seats, which is your weekly FPL and EPL English Premier League show, where we discuss all things in the English Premier League. My name is Mpo, and I've got Wahid, Dean, and AB to discuss all of the things that have happened this week in the English Premier League. But before we get into what we're going to discuss, please please do interact with us on these various platforms. Most importantly, the one at the bottom, please like and subscribe to YouTube. It helps us in those algorithms that YouTube runs. It's a whole lot of maths. I left that back way back when, but it seemingly helps us get more followers and find new territories. This week, we're going to be discussing Liverpool's horrid run in the Premier League. Well, horrid run in general, actually, not even in the Premier League. And then on top of that, we'll be discussing the surprise win for Manchester United. Surprise for everyone else. I'm sure the Manchester United boys will tell you they weren't surprised. Ole's at the wheel, so everybody needs to be calm. And then we're going to discuss a little bit of North London Derby, just a few predictions here and there. I know Dean wants to spend the whole show discussing that, but I don't have time to be listening to Gareth Bale, Son, and Kane all day long. And then finally, it will be in the FPL segment. We'll be going through our transfers in, out, differentials, and captaincies for game week 28. But let's start. Let's go around the screen. Wahid, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, guys. Yeah, very happy with the win this week, this weekend. I'm like as I said in the last show, I wasn't expecting that, but I did say that. If we went in with that counter-attacking mentality and sat back, waited for City to come at us, I did think there was a chance of us picking them off, which we did to my great joy, and it was really good to come away with 3 points. I think that we've won the battle there, but we will probably lose the war.
I think the war's already lost. This is one of those, the war's been lost, but you guys weren't told that the war's over. And you ended up winning some random battle in some place that nobody knows about. But still a good win. AB, how are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm great. It was awesome for United to win again at another packed Etihad Stadium.
How is it different to last season?
Exactly. It's a again.
Not in the mood for this United banter today.
Liverpool are falling apart. Gareth Bale's back. Cheapers. It's like early 2000s, man. It's a good time.
Man. It's like we're in 2011 all over again. The only problem is Arsenal's not putting up their end of the bargain. I got a taste of Xhaka mania this weekend again for like the 10th time this season. Not happy about that. But it's what it is. Drawing to Burnley is not fun, as other teams smack Burnley hard, but we just can't seem to do that. Dean, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. It was another 4 goals that we scored. So for the 3rd time in a row, well, not for the 3rd time in a row, but twice in 3 matches, we managed to score 4 goals, which is an anomaly under Jose Mourinho. So looking like that front 3 is starting to click, and good to see Dele play against Fulham, and then Lucas is obviously coming to the good now as well. So it's looking good for us on the attacking front. So yeah, hopefully we can pull that into the North London Derby and give you 8-0. So we shall see.
8-0's not going to happen. 8-0, if 8 goals are reserved for one certain manager, and that's Sir Alex. The rest of y'all don't live up to
so 9 then. I guess it's 9. Cool.
There won't be 9. Okay, let's start into our first topic of the day. Let's dissect Liverpool and the struggles they're going through. Just like how Fulham dissected them on the weekend, that's what we're trying to do right now. There are a few things that I want to discuss. Here are the points on the top of my head. Obviously, they've lost 6 home games, which is like the first time since 1953-54. They haven't scored a goal from open play at Anfield in 12 hours of football. I don't know how many games that is, but that's a lot of football. And they've only gotten 10 points on the last 36 on offer. I look at that team, and one of the things you could say, yes, they've got injuries. Yeah, that's fine. But they haven't gotten injuries on the front end of the field. They still have Salah. They still have Mo. They still have Sadio, who can help them get through. Yes, the midfield has some injuries, but we've seen Liverpool's midfield chop and change throughout the seasons, especially last year, and they somehow found a way to score goals. Where's the problem? Is it Klopp, or is it the players, or is it somewhere else? And I'm going to start with Wahid, and then I'll go with Dean, and we'll go with AB. Where are Liverpool's issues coming from?
Off the field. I think that one of the things that we've seen recently is in the Premier League is champions tend to rest on their laurels, and it's why we haven't seen a great tradition in maybe since 2010 to 2020 of retaining the Premier League trophy. Most teams win it once and then go, oh well, our squad is good enough. There's no reason to spend, and sort of rest on their laurels in the market a bit, and don't really take that jump up. They don't build on success, and I feel like that's what Liverpool's done now. They've had a very intense 3-year period. Champions League win, going close with City. I mean, that season where they went close with City, they took them to the end, and that probably just sapped them of all energy. And then they built on that by going last season, and they just kept going and going and going and going. And they got to the end, and they were champions and celebrated in the empty trophy with no one there to celebrate and no one there to see, and nobody really cared. But we're now at a point where they haven't built on that. And Jota is a fantastic signing, but what have they signed apart from Jota? It really hasn't been very good. We lauded them in signing Alisson and signing Van Dijk and on those players, but since then it's been they've signed Minamino. I mean, it's hit and miss. They've signed the Greek left back. What's his name?
Who hasn't played?
Doesn't play. I mean, Tsimikas, like he doesn't play. So what they've gone and done is try to add players who are really just not good enough for their squad, and that squad is in need of a rejig. I wouldn't say that it's in need of a rebuild and an overhaul, but it does need some freshening up. I would start with the centre forward. Bobby Firmino is just not cutting it out as a centre forward for them at the moment. I also think they made a big mistake in getting Thiago, because everybody lauded him as one of the best in the world, but he right now looks like a square peg in a round hole, because he doesn't fit the Klopp mentality. He doesn't fit this heavy metal football that Klopp loves. He's a very subtle player in a very direct team. So I would sort of suggest that to get to the champion to where they were at the top of the hill, their recruitment was fantastic, and then their fall was due to maybe a bit of bad recruitment, a bit of resting when they should have been building on success.
The other thing that got them in a bit of a hole was that you saw that in January in the transfer window, where they needed to buy, they didn't have the money to go and purchase A-quality centre-backs or A-quality players to kind of keep them going, because around Jan, they were still there and thereabouts. There was that for the initial stumble, but they went and got Kabak, who they did spend some money, but it wasn't big money, and they bought I'm assuming his name is Ben Davies. Davies, yes, for 500,000 from Preston, and that just kind of was like, okay, guys, what are we doing here? Guys even played, yeah. So Dean, I look at this Liverpool side and I'm like, okay, the bench doesn't inspire confidence. When you play Liverpool, you always get beaten by the 11 on the field, and obviously now they've come into a situation where, and we've seen it now, where now they're putting people who are seemingly bench players on the field, and Fulham is picking them apart. Is Jurgen Klopp's job in trouble? Obviously, we saw Jogi Löw is now retiring. So are they going to look to Jurgen Klopp? He's lost 6 games in a row, or 6 successful home defeats at home. Is he in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he is in trouble, and you can see he is a manager kind of definitely trying new things and coming up with, just anything that might work, he's going to give it a go. I mean, starting Jota over Mane, and, where every single Liverpool team sheet you have a look at, those front three are consistent. So seeing different teams getting put out by Liverpool further emphasizes just how much of a shambles, and I use that word loosely, Liverpool are at the moment, in that Klopp has to try these, weird and wonderful things. And you have a look back at his time in Dortmund, and it was good, but he did come to a point in the season where him himself said, you know what, it's time for me to go, and I'm going to, the right manager needs to come and take over. I saw earlier today that someone did bring about the German football, the national football links there, and he did say that he's not going anywhere. He's got a contract with Liverpool and that he's not going to go anywhere, which I do tend to agree probably for the rest of the season. I don't think we're going to see a massive thing of Klopp getting fired midway, especially with Liverpool still in the Champions League. But I think from a Liverpool perspective, I think, and we discussed it last week with Mourinho might having to then throw everything on a Thursday night, I think Liverpool's way forward could be to throw everything at the Champions League, kind of forget about the league. I mean, at the moment, they're sitting in, what is it? I think it's sixth or seventh, where it might be. I think it might be time for them to say, okay,
but look, Dean, are they good enough to go good enough to go toe to toe with the PSGs and the Bayerns and the Dortmunds of the world with Neco Williams and whoever the hell else they've picked off at the back? I mean, they're not good enough to go every Wednesday night at the moment. This squad is not beating Fulham. They're not going to beat Bayern.
But at the same time, they pull a win out of nowhere against Leipzig, which isn't the worst team either. So depending on what happens tonight, obviously it will decide on what their future may be. The Premier League is gone. They probably, at best, they're going to try fight for top four, which, yeah, at best. So you're kind of looking at straws at the moment. They're out of everything else. And honestly, I mean, it's a team that we all know can win. That's the thing. Okay, yeah, they're missing Van Dijk, but everyone knows what Liverpool did to every other team last season. And it is gone. And I completely agree with Wahid that recruitment is definitely on that.
So let me ask AB this question. Obviously, everyone's talking recruitment, but where do you think Liverpool's going to finish, and what changes do you think need to be made in order to get them back? Because I kind of see that if Liverpool finish outside the top four, FSG, whoever they are the Fenway Sports Group, they're the guys, LeBron and co, are probably going to fire Jurgen Klopp. They're probably going to sit with him because that's a massive revenue loss, and that means they may not even be able to get the players that they want because now they're playing Thursday night football like the rest of us. So like, where do you think they're going to finish? What must happen?
I mean, okay, first and foremost, Liverpool aren't getting the players that they want. You know, Klopp wants a centre back. He didn't get a centre back, so he's throwing his toys out the cart. Klopp inherited a team from Brendan Rodgers that were not finishing top four. And then he took that team to Premier League and Champions League wins, and they played attractive football, and now they're suffering. I feel like firing Klopp, if they don't finish in the top four, would be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Might just be a bit of a mistake because Klopp has achieved everything he really can with this Liverpool team. There's nothing more he can win, barring a silly FA Cup or a Community Shield. There's nothing really he can achieve with Liverpool. So taking their greatest manager in the last 20-odd years and firing him to replace him with Steven Gerrard, who just won the league with Rangers. Yes, it's Scotland. It's fine, but you're not fixing any problems by firing Klopp. I have a feeling it has to do with the team mentality of these Liverpool players and how they're dealing with loss, and the loss being the injuries they've suffered and a few of the games that they've lost and should have not lost. But at the same time, you know, I was comparing them to United's team in 2009. So we've had Liverpool's greatest Premier League team from last season, and I'm comparing them to the 2008 team. The season after, United still won the league, and you know, yes, Liverpool have lost His Holiness Virgil van Dijk, but United played a lot of the 2009 season with guys like Fletcher, Carrick at centre back.
Evans.
Park played,
Evans played a large portion of that season because Vidic was out for most of it.
Exactly. Jason Park played at right back here and there. Darren Gibson played a lot. It's about coming into this team, and Liverpool did that really well at the start of the year. You know, they had injuries, people still came in, and then they won. And now they're not able to do that. So is it a bit of mental fatigue as well as physical fatigue? Maybe that's the case. Maybe Klopp doesn't know how to switch his tempo from high to medium to low. I think they'll probably finish sixth at a push because your Leicesters, your West Hams, your Evertons, your Spurs are all fighting to break into that top four, and they have merit to do so. Their big guns are firing. So now it's about Klopp trying to get his front three firing. And if they don't fire, then they could even finish lower than eighth where they are now.
That brings me into the conversation.
AB brings up a good point. He's talking about games that they should have won that they ended up losing. But in previous seasons, in the season they won the Champions League and the season they won the Premier League, There was games that they should have lost that they ended up winning, and that was because of the siege mentality in the squad. Klopp created a good siege mentality where it was him and his side against the world, and they were able to nick those games, and they were able to go for 94 minutes and score late goals to win games. And that's gone. That's absolutely gone. These guys are conceding one at Fulham and going, oh, well, cheers, guys. Good game. We'll try again next week.
But they're dominating games in possession and attempted shots. It's weird seeing this from Liverpool. They're just not. They've lost their killer instinct, maybe.
Well, but that's the problem, and I think that's one of the reasons why I would say maybe it's time for Liverpool to try to look for someone else. Because if Jurgen's struggling to motivate this team, and struggling to get the best out of these players who did so well for him in the last 2 years, there's two options. Either move off of your staff players and find new guys in, which, as you guys said, that the market's not there to go get the best in Europe. And if they finish badly, it might not, the allure of playing for Liverpool might not just be enough. And then or the other option is let the manager go, bring someone fresh in, and ride the wave of new manager optimism who can come and take this team to that next level. Yes, Klopp's won everything at Liverpool, literally everything. He's a world champion. But maybe that's it. Maybe he then needs another challenge. But let's move on to another team.
Wait,
yes,
on that, I don't think you, as a club, anybody should ever look at a manager who's done that much and say he's the problem, because evidently he's not the problem. It's whether Klopp has the balls to move on someone like Salah. And we saw that with Ferguson. Ferguson got to 1995 and lost the league to Blackburn. And what did he do? He's like, okay, star players, Paul Ince, you off, Andre Kanchelskis, you off. Let's get some fresh blood in this team. Or he looks at his 2002, 2003 squad and goes, oh, well, you know what? It was actually 2005. Van Nistelrooy, great player, one of our greatest ever strikers, but off you go. This team can be better without you. And he had the balls to move on really star-name players and say, the team will go on. And maybe that's what Liverpool need. Maybe Liverpool need to say, okay, Mo Salah, go try your luck at Real Madrid. Or, okay, Sadio Mane, go try your luck at Barcelona, and we'll move on. We'll move on. We'll promote from within. Okay. We'll promote from within. We'll buy a young player who'll become the next Mo Salah, which is what United did. We said, okay, Van Nistelrooy, off you go. We've got Rooney and Ronaldo, and they will become the new men around here.
It's very difficult to do that though, and yeah, I don't know if he has that time.
But you need backing from your owners. It brings in money, but you need to let it go. I loved how they let go of Philippe Coutinho. Many would have thought it was a little bit too early, but it was actually at the right time. So he's done that before. Can he do that now? And I think maybe at the end of the season, they're going to come to that point where they're going to have to let him go and identify who the next big thing in Europe is. And it might be then trying to put down the house on Erling Haaland. It might not work, but you need to be in that market. And for you to be in that market, you need to be consistent. Gents, let's move on to another team that's probably in the market for Erling Haaland, or two of the teams. They played this weekend, and they surprised us all because the team that we didn't expect to win won, and I hope you guys put money on it because why wouldn't you? Dean, as a neutral, I'm going to go to you first. I was surprised, I won't lie. I was expecting United on the counter, but United over the past few months against top-tier opposition have been missing chances. But seemingly this time it wasn't because when they went 1-0 up with that penalty, I just kind of felt, hey, we're seeing another Spurs happening here. But it was different. It was really different. And they really dug it out. They really utilized the pace behind City. They drew them in really nicely. It kind of reminded me of the game where Arsenal played at Old Trafford, where we drew United into attacking so much that we found a way to score on the counter. Yes, it was a penalty, but we were utilizing the space behind them, and they played that to a T against Manchester City. And so, well done to them. But Dean, what did you think of that game?
Yeah, it was an interesting game. I mean, I think very similar to you and Paul. I sat there, saw Jesus do stupid things in minute 1. Obviously, Bruno scores the penalty as usual. And you are sitting there waiting, kind of going, okay, it's not going to last for long. It's not going to last for long, you know? and that it just didn't come, you know. And I think we did say it in last week's show where it's going to be a battle of the midfield. And to be honest, United's done the best job of silencing that City midfield that we've seen pretty much since Spurs, because I'm obviously going to say Spurs did it well as well. But yeah, KDB was completely out of the game. And United really just dominated literally from that first minute pretty much. I mean, City just weren't allowed to come into the game. They weren't allowed to exploit teams the way that we have seen them exploit other teams in the past. And to be honest, I think they got to about minute 60 or 65, and I think the City players kind of looked at each other and kind of had a bit of a shell shock. They couldn't believe what was actually happening. And I think that just left the performance, you know, in a worse situation than it would have been or that anyone else would have thought. So, I mean, kudos to United. They really did well. They did play well, as much as it kills me to say. But yeah, Wahid did call it. He did say at the end of the thing, good, they're going to win 3-0. I was really worried that United were going to score a third goal there at the end, because we would never have heard the end of it. But yeah, I mean, Shaw played well.
Roberto Carlos.
I'm not in the mood for this United stuff.
Okay, let's move on to the United guys. Pep had no plan B, and you played right into it, and you did quite well. But AB, how are you feeling? How is that game? Is it a turning point for your club, or is it just one of those situations where you got them on a bad day?
I don't think we got City on a bad day. Their 21-game win in a row. There was no bad days for City. I think everything went right for United. A lot of hard work came to fruition there. I'm just going to touch on 2 points, and that being one, I think Dean Henderson really commanded his box well. So Dean is really dominant for any high balls or any crosses.
Be careful what you say. Just mention Henderson.
I'm touching a lot of word. Touching a lot of word right now. Yeah. He really showed some maturity in his game, and even in City's corners, yes, they don't have the Virgil van Dijks of the world or Harry Kane's, guys who are going to trouble you in the box, but no one troubled him or no one tried to block him or anything like that, which is quite comforting when you're a defense. And United played out the back really well on Sunday, and that's something that really frustrated me. Well, has frustrated me under Oli, is when United play out the back, it's very risky because we often make mistakes. It's either the keeper or the defense, and we concede silly goals that we really shouldn't have to. We did against Spurs in that horrible, horrible game. But I think in our now build up to transition play, using our fullbacks is really stepping up from where we came from last season. I think Luke Shaw has arguably become the most informed fullback in the league right now, and he's doing really well, and he can just move from strength to strength. It's just delightful to watch. Was a little bit nervous towards the end, but that's the life of a football fan, I suppose.
Wahid, how did you see that game?
Yeah, I must be honest with you. I don't think we got City on a bad day, because you look at the previous couple of fixtures between United and City, and it's all been very similar. United have silenced KDB every single time we've played him under Ole. He hasn't come to the fore. Scott, McTominay, and Fred are absolutely marvelous in games like this. Fred. I'm always like, he's such a weird player to watch. On one hand, he's like you almost feel like he's misplacing passes so that he can go and clean up his own mess. But McTominay is really developing into a really, really astute defensive midfielder. He's very smart in his movement off the ball. And his movement on the ball, he's really becoming a really, really integral part of the team. And I think those two were probably the key players, along with Roberto Carlos, in us winning the game. So I saw maybe the counter-attacking game coming. I just didn't think it would be that effective. Touching on AB's point about Dean Henderson, and I've read a few journos who at the game, so we get these games with fake crowd noise, so we can't exactly hear it, but a few of the journos have said that David De Gea is quiet as a mouse in his goal, And they say that Dean Henderson does not shut up. He is constantly talking to his defense. He's constantly organizing his defense. He's constantly telling them where to be and what to do. And that makes a big difference, especially considering the fact that he's now part of an all English-speaking back five. At the end of the day, as much as De Gea now speaks a bit of English, it's still broken. It's not his first language. It's not his mother tongue. And like, say what you want, that makes a difference. It really makes a difference to have 5 players who all speak the same language as a defensive unit. And you could see that. I did see a little clip of it when Maguire is shouting at Dean Henderson, saying that Shaw is your outball, Shaw is your outball, and he looks up, he sees Shaw, he throws it over the top of the City press, because that's what City came to do. City came to press United's United like to play out from the back, and City came to try and press United's defense. And what Henderson was so clever in doing was a few times looking at, okay, well, I've got the ball now, but you know what? Let's not go with a one-minded approach of playing out from the back. Every now and then, there is actually a ball over the top that we can play, and it's going to trouble City. It goes to really fast players like Bruno, Rashford, or Martial, and it troubles them. So he was really clever in sometimes playing out from the back and sometimes looking for that outball over the top. So very impressed with Bruno. Another word on Harry Maguire, because if Ruben Diaz puts in that performance for City, he's lauded from last week to next week. And Maguire was phenomenal at the heart of the defense. He was absolutely colossal for United. And I think big ups to our captain there.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. No, just joking. But yeah, look, I'm a fan of the 45. I'm always a fan of that 45. There's always a man there that you can find, and it should be your quickest man on the field. So that was really great for you guys in being able to identify that press. I'm going to give you guys one last word on Luke Shaw. Is Luke Shaw the best left back, and has he secured his flight to Euro, or I don't know where they're going, but yeah, it is Euro. But yeah, I'll go with Dean. Is he England's best left back?
I mean, he has to be at the moment, given the performances he's putting in at United. There's no ways that Southgate can overlook him. It was not, I mean, you just have to go back to previous times we've spoken where he had said he's basically sponsored by McDonald's, and the way that guy's turned his season around and put in the work and he's doing what he needs to do, it deserves a place on that plane. So yeah, 100%.
Does it change Gareth Southgate's formation? Because we know Gareth likes to play 3 at the back, and I'll ask why he does. Having a Luke Shaw, and can Luke Shaw play that left wing back role? I know he's got some attacking intent, but if you look at the other guys, the Chilwells, I hate the fact that he's going to probably try to play Bukayo Saka there. Can Luke play in that advanced role, or is Luke much better in a 4?
Yeah, well, Luke is much better in a 4. Doesn't play the wing back role very well, and Ole's often moved him into a back 3 into the left centre back when we played a back 5 or with wing backs. Having said that, Shaw's completely changed his game. So when we were playing that way, where Luke Shaw had to come to left centre back, he was a much more defensively minded player. He's really put in the hard yards. I think he trusts his body a lot more, which allows him to bomb forward at pace. And I see no reason why he can't play left wing back here. Though I don't watch the league, but rumor has it that Ashley Young is in another renaissance. So there could be another option for a left wing back position there for Gareth Southgate.
Oh my word, Ashley Young.
Wow, if
England go back there.
So don't worry.
It's actually quite competitive. AB, Roberto Carlos, all he needs is now a shot outside of goal, a left-footed bullet into the goals. How have you seen his progress this season?
Oh no, I think he's a completely different player to what he was at the start of the season versus last season. I'm really happy for him. He's worked hard. He deserves everything, all the credit. I've criticized him. Everyone's criticized him. I mean, James Corbyn is now long gone. I don't want him to play for England because I just don't want any Man United player to go overseas and play international football. I want them all to have a holiday because Ollie doesn't like to rotate teams. So just let them chill. They make enough money. Yeah. I hate international football, so I'm not going to miss out on much.
Okay.
It's coming home, Dean.
It's coming home for sure. It's coming. Isn't it?
Okay. Before we talk about it's coming home, there's a team that's coming home to my home, and that is Spurs this weekend. It'll be empty, which is something that Spurs is normally used to, even though they've built that monstrosity of a toilet seat.
I'll let you have it in Paul. Go.
Bale, Son, and Kane are singing. That's the front three everyone was crying about. I don't know how to feel or how to be right now, because I know what after seeing what you guys have done over the past 4 weeks, I'm a little scared. And because it could be a blowout, or it could be one of those tight little games in midfield that doesn't go anywhere. But it could also be a game that brings out the best out of Arsenal. The only problem is I don't know who's going to step up, because right now senior players are doing dumb things. But anyway, all I want from you guys, Dean can give us a little bit of a spiel. What are your predictions? I'm going to predict a 2-1 Arsenal win. I think somehow they're going to find a way, and I pray they find a way. But let me go to Dean, and then I'll go to our friends from Manchester. Dean, how are you feeling with that front three?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Every single Spurs fan is absolutely excited, and I think a lot of just general football fans are happy to see Bale singing. You know, everyone was kind of, this is what we wanted to see when he came back to the Premier League, and he's really putting it together. So it's good to see his kind of form coming together, and I think it's more. You know, Mourinho's touched on it, and I think something's just clicked in him, and it's now kind of, you know, he's spraying those diagonal balls. He's working well up that right-hand side of the field, and he's working well with the midfield. So it's really looking good for us, especially with his little combination now with Kane. His son's kind of taken a back foot, but he's still really important to the team. So he is kind of playing that lesser role, but it's still vital for us in getting goals. So I'm really excited. I'm looking at more. It's definitely going to be a tighter game, similar to what we saw at Fulham, where I think Spurs might dominate a first half, and then we kind of get lazy, and that's when Arsenal might have a way in, and it could be a little bit tighter, especially given the North London derby. But I think the way we are on now, and I think the form we are now, I think the boys will be up for it, especially Bale coming back. So I'm looking at probably like a 3-1 Spurs.
3-1. Wow. Okay. Wahid, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Both teams are like schizophrenic. So it could go either way. I'm going to call a score draw. Very entertaining game. I'm going to say 2-2 with the Hurricane and Gareth Bale probably getting on the score sheet for Spurs. And Arsenal, I'm not sure. Someone will score. I'm not sure who.
It's okay. AB, what's your prediction?
Yeah, no. I also don't think it's going to be a game 1. I was also wanting to say 2-2, but we stalled that. So let me go with 3-3, just because both teams, like, Spurs can either defend really well or they can just not defend. And we know Arsenal and Spurs games love to. There's lots of goals in there. Yeah, I think Harry Kane's going to be destructive as always against against Arsenal. Aubameyang's found some goals, so he'll likely score. I'd like to see Willian score just because of the fans like meltdown time Willian does something. Yeah, so yeah, 2-2 or 3-3. Yeah,
we have a comment from Cyrus. He says Arsenal have little to no chance, but these are the games where Arteta provides Arsenal joy.
That's fine. We're never advising Cyrus back. That's cool. No more cheat sheets for Cyrus.
Guys,
thank you.
Cyrus has come up with some gems.
Cyrus has come up with some gems, and we do miss him. But let's end the EPL segment of our cheap seats here. Thanks, guys. Cyrus replying with some laughing emojis. You're always welcome back. But thank you very much, gents. Let's go into the oh my word. What did Wahid wanting us to share?
I'm not even in the mood.
Once a gunner, always a gunner. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure why he always wants to why he always does well against Arsenal, considering that he supported them as a kid.
Okay, guys, let's end it off on that note.
Wise with age.
So let's end it on that note. Thank you very much for listening and watching. We're now moving to the FPL segment, and that is going to start in the next 20 seconds. So please do stay on and see. Okay, welcome back to the cheap seat. Just closing out the this is the FPL edition. If you watch, just closing out a couple of comments. The answer as to why Harry Kane is now playing for Spurs. Sarah says he got lost in North London, which is pretty much true. Those streets are narrow and confusing. I after leaving a late night game, I nearly found myself in a very dodgy part of London, but I think it might have been on the wrong side of the red-white divide. So this is the FPL edition now. So this is our weekly show. It's game week 28. We've come out of double game weeks. You've got a blank in the next one. So that's going to be a fun one for everyone to try to figure out, because I know all of you guys don't have chips anymore. So that's going to be interesting. But so far, how was Wahid, how was your game week? Your double game week?
I forgot to change my captain.
Best news ever. I meant to captain Mo Salah, and I think I went in and I forgot to click on save, and then I got busy with work. So currently my captain is Ruben Diaz, who conceded 2 but has a game to go. So we could be on the up. I've got 50 already, so there's a potential for a few more there from Ruben Diaz. Okay, Dean, how was your week?
Yeah, it was good. I think honestly, the United beating City might bode well for me, because I've got Captain De Bruyne, and hopefully after that loss, I'm hoping Pep comes back and wants to kind of bounce back and will put a full strength 11 out. So hopefully there was an issue that maybe De Bruyne won't play both games, but hopefully he does come good now and plays tonight. So we'll see.
And AB, did you run away with the lead after this game week?
Yes, I'm back, guys. I'm back on top. Captain Kane, got Bruno, got Son, got Jesse Lingard. My Wolves defender did not play, which means Luke Shaw's coming off the bench.
Oh, come on.
I had Luke Shaw score. Yeah. He's in my team.
So, yeah, I'm doing well. Next week, I'm screwed, though. Well, this coming
Luke
week,
Shaw's on my bench.
Yeah. Coming off.
Sarah saying my Morris call was as expected. He's my captain, but I had Bale and Son and Bruno. So yeah, that's a good call, side. My week was just okay. So I had Martinez on the bench, Luke Shaw on the bench, and that pretty much says it all. So I thought Arsenal would get a clean sheet with Bernd Leno, but I didn't know there was a double agent named Xhaka, and that kind of summed up my week. But Wahid,
maybe you've got Lionel Jesse. What's your plan? Because he can't play this weekend against us, and then he can't play the following week. So transfer out there. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, it's not the worst. It's not the worst call.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding who for.
Oh no, for Manchester United, there's one man. There's only one man, and that's Thomas Suchek. So he's the guy. He's the guy. Just joking. No, I still have Suchek in my team. I still need to figure out a way to get him out. Let's go with Wahid. He gave us his transfers and his differential and his captain. Game week 28, Wahid went for De Bruyne transferring in. He also captained him. He's kicked out Mo Salah, and his differential pick is Kai Havertz. Wahid, please give us your reasoning behind all of this.
So Salah out has been because it's been a couple of weeks coming. I kept going, no, it will come right. No, it will come right. No, it will come right. And he's just doing nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing. And it's just time to flog him. Like even if he does come right, I don't think it's worth the pain of suffering through watching Liverpool and like hoping for this dude to come right when there's De Bruyne who can he ticks over points, because it might not necessarily be a Salah hat trick every second week or whatever it is, but he racks up the assist points and he just ticks over really well. So I think that it was time for me to swap out, and it was just a matter of okay, I always have Bruno because football is a game that's played for 90 minutes. At the end of the game, Bruno Fernandes scores a penalty and wins the game. So that's how it goes. You always need Bruno in your team for the penalties he's going to score. And my other big money spend was on Salah. So it was just very much taking out Salah and saying, okay, who would be the best at that sort of price point? And that's De Bruyne. And he's got a couple of easy game weeks coming up. I think it's a couple of weeks until they play Leicester, when it's really just like bottom half table, bottom half teams. So I'm transferring in and captaining De Bruyne there.
Let's talk about the differential.
Differential, yes. Kai Havertz. 2.5% of people own him. Very, very small ownership.
Isn't it because of Tuchel rotation?
Yeah, but he played as a false nine this
week. Played really well on Monday.
And he played really well. I think we haven't really seen the real Kai Havertz. He's been a shadow of the player he was in the
I'm angry at all of you. I said when they bought him that he needs to play at 9, and everyone laughed at me and said, no, he's 10, no, he's 10. Now look, it took half a season to figure out that Kai Havertz is a 9.
He played really.
Well, what else did you want?
He's been shocking at times this year, playing in all sorts of positions, 10, right wing, left wing. He hasn't been good at all. But I think we finally saw the Kai Havertz that we saw that the Bundesliga saw this week. You know, I think what Chelsea bought was a prolific goal scoring midfielder, and the problem was this goal scoring midfielder wasn't getting in the box. And I think Tuchel just figured out, like, let's get this kid in the box. He scores goals, he assists goals. So I think the differential is coming there, and insofar as that he's just playing slightly higher up in the field, and that might be helpful from an FPL perspective.
Yeah, that was my interesting one. It was so Kai Havertz, I was like, wow, okay. Because I'm always afraid of Thomas Tuchel rotation, because Ben Chilwell no longer is the Chelsea's favorite son, even though he cost that much. So that's my biggest issue with Chelsea right now, is I don't know who's going to start. But let's go to Dean. Dean this week is Gareth Bailing it, bringing him in. He's also on the Salah transfer out. His differential is Richarlison, and his captain is De Bruyne. Dean, your thinking around that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think what he said, it's time to get Salah out, especially when you've got the likes of now either Son and Bale really hitting their strides. And honestly, it opens up a lot of funds elsewhere now, especially with like De Bruyne back. Also think just on that note, Jota being back is a big option now in that cheaper midfield. If you want to have a look at that, I know guys are looking at like Lingard or Souček maybe coming out, and I think Liverpool don't have a bad run of fixtures coming ahead, but it's not great. So a cheaper option there still leaves you with something in Liverpool in case they do come right, but at least it's not at a premium expense. So that's the reasoning there. In terms of differential, Richarlison, I mean, the guy is playing really well at the moment. So again, it's not a massive differential. Only 9.7% of guys still own Richarlison. So could be seen there. And they're playing Burnley this week. So obviously Arsenal struggle to beat any team on a good day. So take that aside. Spurs beat them 4-0. So Everton can probably go and do the same. And you're looking at Richarlison to be on the score sheet there. And then in terms of captain, yeah, I think it's, for me, I'm probably between Kane and KDB at the moment, depending on what happens tonight with that Southampton game, with KDB if he plays. But they do play Fulham. So you are looking at, it's probably one of the easier fixtures of the weekend, City Fulham. You're hoping City exploits there, but might look at Kane.
That's what Liverpool thought.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But we know Liverpool are terrible at the moment. So we might move to Kane. He loves scoring against Arsenal. So, or even Bale with a big shot. Hopefully he comes to the good. But yeah, at the moment, looking like KDB captain.
AB, top of the log. Let's go to you. You've brought in Richarlison, transferring out Mo Salah, captaining Bruno, and your differential is Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, look, I mean, so
please can we never name him that? Please can we stop naming him?
I'm not naming him that.
It's terrible.
That's a horrible name. So, like, yeah, the thing with Luke Shaw is people are now jumping on the bandwagon. So he's got, what, 11% or so? When I bought him in a couple of weeks ago, He was very low, but now people are starting to see the light. People are quite sure about Shaw. Nothing. Cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
You did try.
Yeah, I did try.
Tough crowd, bro. Tough
So
crowd.
to be honest, now this Mo Salah thing, I haven't made my transfer for the week, but I want to get him out because he's shit. But I know as soon as I get Mo Salah out, it's always going to be lose because like when you have a Liverpool player in your fantasy team, if they win and this dude scores, it's a win for you because it's fine. But now I have nothing in it. So yeah, I mean Salah. Yeah, I'm conflicted about it, but everyone said their piece. Bringing in Richarlison is as opposed to DCL because DCL is fit, but Richarlison seems to be doing a lot more link-up plays, assists, getting into the box. He's starting to play or drift in a bit more centrally, and then captaincy. You got to go with. Well, for me, I've got to go with Bruno against West Ham. I feel like West Ham this weekend will be a bit weaker without Lingard. When someone comes in and makes an impact so quickly and can't play that game, not because he's injured or anything, I feel like it might cause David Moyes some headaches. Also, David Moyes doesn't really win a lot at Old Trafford, just because he's
even when he was manager.
Yeah, even when he was manager, he didn't win that much. So yeah, he's going to come in there. He's going to probably have a little bit of a little panic attack, and hopefully West Ham concede a lot of goals.
Okay. So before I do this, I already sold Mo Salah before the game week last week. I kind of was like, you know what, I'm done. But it didn't give me anything because the guy I brought in did nothing. But that guy was Kevin De Bruyne. But so this week, I've decided to swap it around in terms of strikers. I've brought in Richarlison. I've taken Bamford out. My captain is sneaky captain is Richarlison, and I've got Reece James as a differential. I went for Leeds because obviously they're playing against Chelsea. I went against Bamford because of playing Chelsea. I kind of felt I could get something from Richarlison. Also, Everton's fixtures, they've got a really nice little run of fixtures after this where I think they can, if they want to take top four, I'm riding on Richarlison's wave. But I'm willing to swap them in and out every week as it is if that's going to be my free transfer. Reece James is a sneaky option. He's starting to play a lot more in the Tuchel system as a higher up right wing back. So and he gets you assists, he gets you points. Chelsea's attack on the right is pretty strong. And so you can get something from him. So I thought that's a really nice differential from defensive. And he's also worth 5 because obviously now all the defenders we got at 4.5 and have done well are now hanging around at 5. So the price point you would probably need is up there. Looking into that, and obviously Richarlison's just a sneaky captaincy pick. I'm chasing, so I need to find someone who's going to try to get me as many goals against Burnley as possible. The other captaincy pick is like a KDB, but the whole world's going to try go against the Scott Parker coach team. So that was the other issue. Gents, do you have any final words, any sneaky predictions around this game week? I'll start with Wahid.
Hudson-Odoi was really good. He's another differential pick. So Havertz and Hudson-Odoi were really, really good against Everton. Hudson-Odoi probably the best player on the field. So it's another differential pick. It's just come to mind now. So I've used my transfer already to get Havertz in, but Hudson-Odoi wouldn't be a bad shot.
Dean, any sneaky guys that you need to look into?
Yeah, I think for this week, I think Deeney could come good as well against Burnley. He did play more in that midfield role, so against Burnley, he could be a good option there. The one thing that I do want to just tell the guys, next week, the game week 29, there's only 4 matches. So be careful with who you're transferring in and who you're transferring out. There's not a lot of guys playing, so just bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's a problem with game week 29. AB, do you have any final words or any sneaky predictions?
I mean, just from a United point of view, I know with Rashford getting a sort of ankle injury, Cavani out, maybe it's time to bet on Mason Greenwood if you've got a free transfer. You don't know what to do. He's a midfielder. He could play 90 minutes against West Ham. We'll see tomorrow, but yeah.
Yeah, that 6 midfield range. If you've got 6 million and you're looking for a midfield, it's pretty tough. going right now. I'd say probably look at Wolves, or maybe look at guys who are playing next week. So next week in game week 29, it's Fulham, it's Leeds, it's Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Spurs. So you might have to load up on some of those guys, and that brings in the John McGinns, that brings in the Bukayo Sakas, that brings in Harrison, that brings in Dallas, all those little guys in those teams. There's some sneaky Fulham picks: Josh Maja, Cavallero, Mario Lamina, all very cheap. And oh yes, Adam Muller, he's the guy I brought in this weekend in preparation for next weekend. I took out Gundoz. I kind of felt that I was too City heavy, and I brought in Ademola Lookman, hoping that Fulham can do something, but not this weekend, next weekend. So just try to build that squad mentality, as Wahid calls it. Thanks, guys, for that. It's really helped. I won't lie. But yeah. Outside of that, guys, enjoy the weekend of football, of fantasy, and everything else. And to you, our viewers, and also our listeners on the podcast, thank you very much. Gents, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy beating West Ham, Wahid, and AB. Dean, we have a date on Sunday, and we will figure out who's going to win. But from myself and the guys here at the Cheap Seats, have a lovely time and weekend. Le sale, kakafis.